Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Savvy Sales Lady Live. We're going to be talking about mindset, mastering the sales mindset, lessons from Chase Hughes. If you know who he is, would you tell me in the comment? Just put yes, I know Chase in the comments so I'll know. And also in the comments, would you let me know where you're watching from? What state are you in? What country are you in? I'd love to know that as well. So it is all about mindset. And today I spoke to 3 different people. 2 have become clients of mine, and all 3 of them were struggling with the very same thing, mindset. They were either at the top of their sales game, they were doing fine, then all of a sudden the slump hit. And it can happen to the very best of people. I remember Tony Robbins saying one time about how, he came from the Jim Rohn world. And when he started his own training company, he was just at the top, just doing workshop after workshop after workshop, making a ton of money. And then, boom, he stopped. And he was all the way down at the bottom, living in this rinky-dink apartment, depressed, overweight, and, not caring at all about his business. A good friend came in and shook him into reality. He let his mindset slip. That's what happened. And it can happen to all of us so easily. That's why it's a daily thing that you've got to guard your thoughts. And we're going to delve into this deep with lessons from, and I'm going to show you Chase Hughes. He's a behavioral scientist, and we'll get more into that as we go. But I want to show you something to explain how mindset can really be debilitating if you start to slide. I shared this today on LinkedIn, and it's a story about a client of mine who we're going to call Gail. She gave me permission to write about her story, but I am protecting her name. And this is an excerpt from my book that's coming out this year. It had been 6 months since she felt the thrill of landing a deal. She imagined the feeling repeatedly, hoping to cinch another one through sheer will, magically. Isn't that what The Secret tells us? She kept that thought to herself. Now all she feels is the looming ache of another day full of rejection. Pulling herself out of bed, she was determined that today would be different. But as she went about her morning, the dread of the day began to seep deeper into a mood that had become her close friend. A mood she couldn't shake because, in a way, she thought she deserved it. Her day began the same as the last 180 days. She was full of doubt, fear, and shame. The same questions resurfaced. Why can't I sell more? Where am I going? When will I lose my job? Have you ever felt this way? Now, Gail came to me at the lowest point in her sales career. The lowest point. And it took us about 6 months to get everything turned around. And then all of a sudden, she sold 7 accounts back to back, like boom, 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 boom. Once we were able to pull her out of that valley and start climbing the mountain of success again. And it was all work around changing her mindset. So if you feel that struggle, really, that struggle, I have felt it before. It starts here. You have to shift your mindset in order to start selling again. Sometimes we just fool ourselves and believe that, oh, if I just hustle more, if I, contact more people, you're just pushing, pushing, pushing. That won't do it because you haven't changed the most important part, and that's here. That's why mindset is so important. So let's get back to Chase Hughes. I've got a bunch of quotes to go over with you and discuss with you. But before we do this, Chase was on Patrick Bet David. That's how I found him. And I've been fascinated with him. And on the Patrick Bet David show, he talks about the Blue Angels and visualization. Because a lot of times I hear from sales reps that say, come on, does visualization really work? Well, you have to visualize your success every morning. Picture yourself closing deals and creating meaningful connections. But I want to show you who else does visualization. This will blow your mind. And I did not know this until I saw that video. So let me share my screen and show you who absolutely believes in visualization. This is the Blue Angels. And before they perform, they do visualization chair flying every time before they perform. I want to show you this.
5-5. Easy mo. 7-5, easy power idle.
The Blue Angels are one of the most renowned flight demonstration teams in the world, representing the United States Navy with their breathtaking aerobatic performances. Known for their incredible precision and skill, the Blue Angels perform complex maneuvers and tight formations that leave audiences in awe. However, the ability to execute such high-level performances is not just about talent, it's the result of intense training, meticulous preparation, and a constant focus on perfecting every detail. One of the key techniques used by the Blue Angels to hone their flying skills is chair flying. This unique method allows the pilots to mentally rehearse and practice their maneuvers in a simulated environment, helping them build muscle memory, improve coordination, and ensure flawless execution in the air. By visualizing and physically simulating flight procedures while seated in a chair, the pilots prepare themselves for even the most challenging aerial routines with exceptional precision and confidence.
Vertical, 5-5. Easy mo power. A little ease comes the pull. Let smoke up, push, go down the sticker.
Right, John,
Adding power. Good morning, everybody. Evan.
You should also brief our high show practice for Let's go fire pretty good.
All right. It's Friday, March 26, 2021, over Naval Air Station, Pensacola, Florida. Weather winds are 220 at 3, 10 miles viz, few at 25,000. Forecast weather winds 250 at 6, 10 miles viz, few at 25,000.
Chair flying is an incredibly effective training tool that allows pilots to mentally rehearse complex maneuvers in a risk-free environment. By simulating flight procedures while seated, pilots can focus on refining their muscle memory, visualizing each movement, and enhancing their coordination without the distractions of being in an actual aircraft. This technique not only sharpens technical skills, but also improves situational awareness and decision-making under pressure. For the Blue Angels, it's an essential part of their preparation, ensuring that every maneuver is performed with the highest level of precision and teamwork. The ability to fly without leaving the ground is a testament to the power of mental rehearsal in achieving excellence in aviation.
Okay, that just gives you a little excerpt of how powerful visualization is. This all started back in the 80s. A Stanford professor had performed a series of visualization tests on athletes, and he found that when he could get them visualizing in basketball to hit the free throw or a three-pointer in their minds, that the ability to do that on the floor, on the court, was much higher. So this visualization technique started pouring out into the world. Well, when I talk about this in sales training, I mean, seriously, people look at me like I'm nuts. And I'm going to start showing them the flying chair technique in my trainings because it's such a powerful thing. Before I went into every sales call, I would I'm going back to my group benefit days. So in the year 2003 on up to 2013, when I would do face-to-face meetings with agents or with business managers, I would sit in my car and I would take a few minutes before I went in and I would play in my mind. I would close my eyes. I would play in my mind how that sales call was going to unfold, what was going to be talked about, how I was going to answer the questions I was going to ask, the outcome at the very end. I played all of that in my mind before I went into the actual sales call. Before I cold call, I do the same thing. I sit back and I think about how the call is going to unfold. It doesn't unfold exactly the way I visualize it, but what the visualization does, as it says in that video, it helps with muscle memory. That's why I preach all the time to practice, practice, practice. You've got to practice. Practice here and practice out loud. Okay, let's get back to Chase Hughes and his words of wisdom. All right. The first one he talks about is your mindset is the foundation of your influence. Sales isn't just a transaction, it's a psychological interaction. Your beliefs about yourself and your abilities dictate how you perform in every sales conversation. The subconscious mind of your prospect picks up on subtle cues in your tone, body, language, and energy. Confidence is the gateway to trust. All right. Have you ever had someone say to you, "Are you okay today? You just seem a little off," right? And this whole time, you're not noticing anything. You think you're just like you are all the time. But they say to you, "Are you okay? You just seem a little off." See, people pick up subtle cues in your body language, in your tone, in your posture as well. That maybe if you're having a bad day or you had a fight with your spouse or with your teenager, you're coming to work or you're going on that sales appointment and you're just not 100% here because you're still worried or still thinking about what just happened at home. That comes out in the tone, your posture, and your body language, and it could even erode your confidence if you're not careful. So I want to play you one clip of Chase Hughes talking about sales. So let me get that to you. Stay with me. Now, this is when he was on Patrick Bet David.
A basic example of sales, a sales team. Somebody says, well, I need a better script. I need a better thing for the phone. What do I say? Or somebody, let's say the top sales guy at a company has this record number of sales. What does the management do? They're like, okay, what is he saying? Not who is he? It's what is he saying? And that's the biggest mistake. It took me 15 years to learn this mistake that our species makes is we value language so much. And I've studied neuroscience for the past 7 years, and there is no structure in our brain designed for language. We have one for vision, for smell, for touch, motor control, all this other stuff. There's no hierarchical structure in our brain for language. That's because it's pretty new to us as a species, and our brains haven't changed in 200,000 years. But we think, what do I need to say? And when I get clients, the first thing that clients ask me for is, we need a better script. I need more techniques and tactics. I need to know what to say. And I immediately go back, and we're 30 feet from an airport as we're sitting here right now. And I go back and I say, if I gave you a flight checklist, every single detail on it, for a Cessna 172, are you a pilot now?
No.
No. I mean, you can follow those little steps, but it's not going to make you fly the plane well. It's not going to make you do a good job. If I spent $50 million developing the most incredible sales script that's ever been written in the history of humankind, and I take that and I hand it to somebody who has social anxiety, and I tell them to go make a sale, it's not going to be very effective. So we fail to recognize as human beings that if I can influence that mammal part of the human brain, then I get results every time. And when it comes down to PSYOPs, it's the same thing. And that mammal part of our brain has 4 parts, or 4 things that influence it. And that spells out the word fate. And that's focus, authority, tribe, and emotion. Those 4 things. If you watch the most brilliant way to demonstrate this is if you just watch a video of Cesar Millan, the dog whisperer. He's training these dogs. He doesn't sit down and talk to these dogs and say, listen, I know you haven't had a great life. I know you were abused in the last home, but these are new people. They're great. They're great folks. That's a mammalian brain that we're dealing with. And it's the same thing for human beings. And I could show you some beautiful examples of how fast, you could talk a human being into murdering a total stranger. The average person could be talked into murder in about an hour.
Okay. If you have a chance to watch that entire interview, it's about 2.5 hours long. And they started talking about PSYOPs, but Chase Hughes does a lot of work with corporations and training sales teams. And the point of that whole segment is this. He's saying you can give people all of the words that they can use in a cold call script or going on a sales call. You can tell them exactly what to say. But if their body language, their tone, their posture, and their confidence doesn't match the words don't matter. So you have to bring yourself into the selling situation, which is what I've talked about 1,000 different times. He just has the science to back it up. And so let's go. This leads us to the next quote, authority. And this is what he meant with Cesar Milano, who is the dog whisperer. He's saying that Cesar is able to train these dogs because he uses authority. Our mammal brain recognizes authority, and so do dogs and cats. Well, I don't know about cats. My cat doesn't obey at all, but my dog does. But the point is that Caesar knows that you have to use authority in order to train dogs. And that's why he's so good at training dogs, because he's exuding the posture, the confidence, the tone, and he's not afraid of the animals. How many times have you gone into a cold call or into a sale and you feel intimidated. You feel intimidated by the person you're meeting with. That's written all over you, and prospects can they're looking for those cues. And if you show those cues, then they know they've got you in their hip pocket. So Chase says authority isn't just about being in control. It's about creating an environment where others feel safe following you. And that's what Caesar does with the dogs. He makes them feel safe. He's the authority figure. He makes them feel safe. In sales, this means using subtle authority signals like maintaining steady eye contact, speaking with a measured tone, and demonstrating calm confidence. Calm confidence. I love that phrase. These cues trigger the prospect's subconscious brain to perceive you as trustworthy and credible. All right. My dear dad always taught me to shake a man's hand firmly, grip it and shake it firmly. He said, don't ever do that sissy handshake for women. Christine, if you're going into the business world, you do a firm handshake. Why? Because that exudes confidence, that exudes authority. And there are so many body language cues I can go into. And maybe I'll do a whole nother Savvy Sales Lady live on body language. But all of these cues are triggering the prospect's subconscious. This is a serious person. This is a confident person. And I cannot intimidate this person. Okay. Believe it or not, you may know some. There are people out there that love to intimidate other people. Don't let them shake you. And if they do, don't let them see that they shook you. Okay. Number 3, let's get into rapport. So rapport is one of those funny things. And in my day, I'm going to go back to my day 30 years ago. We were taught to build rapport by bringing donuts and taking somebody to lunch and doing this whole chit chat thing. That is not rapport. That is not rapport. And what it is, Chase says it so beautifully. Rapport is built when we reflect positivity back to our prospects. Reflect back, mirroring the prospect. Now, a lot of people don't believe in mirroring, but I'm telling you, mirroring works. I did that 30 years ago, 40 years ago. I was taught mirroring 40 years ago, folks. And it works because what happens is the prospect, as I said, is looking for cues. And when you start mirroring them back, they're thinking, oh, she's a lot like me, or he's a lot like me. It feels comfortable to them. And the whole point is to make the prospect feel comfortable. Not necessarily to like you, but your job is to make them feel comfortable so they'll feel comfortable about buying your product and service. Don't get that confused with like, okay? If you're trying to get someone to like you and then they become your buddy, guess what? Buddies don't buy. You don't want that. You want the person that you can make them feel comfortable buying you, buying your product, and buying your company. So humans are naturally drawn to those who mirror their emotions and behaviors in a genuine way. Now, genuine means that you're not faking it, right? when I mirror people, I'm genuinely mirroring them because I believe that I want to help them feel more comfortable about opening up to me about their issues and problems, because I can't solve them if they don't feel comfortable enough to open up, right? So start by mirroring their tone. If they talk soft, then you talk a little softer. If they talk loud, you talk a little louder. I naturally talk loud. I got that from my dad. He's the booming voice at a restaurant. I try not to be that booming voice. And my son every once in a while will say, "Lower the volume, Ma, lower the volume." I get that from my dad. But if they talk fast, you talk a little faster. If they're more slow and measured about what they're saying, then just slow down a tad and be a little more measured yourself. This is all to help them feel comfortable. So start by mirroring their tone, their pace, and body language to establish an unconscious bond. This doesn't just make you likable, it builds the foundation for influence. Okay? So, like I said, your goal is to make them feel comfortable. Let's go to the next quote. The brain responds to repetition. If you want to reprogram your mindset for success, it's crucial to practice daily habits that reinforce your goals. How many times have you heard me say this? Which is why I talk a lot about practice, practice, practice. That's repetition. What you're doing is you're reprogramming your mind. And if you practice 10 times before you pick up that phone, don't ever pick up that phone cold. You'll be cold yourself when you make that first call. Don't do it. Practice. Practice your voicemail. Practice how you're going to sound over the phone to that prospect. I always recommend that you hit your memo recorder on your iPhone or your Android phone and do your opening intro in that memo app and then play it back and listen. That's how you're going to sound to your prospect. So I practice that in my memo app until I feel, all right, I can now make that cold call. That repetition also builds what? It builds a habit, a good habit that you do this. It's automatic before you make every cold call. So daily habits that reinforce your goals. One of the things I've talked about forever is the reason why New Year's resolutions fail is because when people make their New Year's resolutions, they don't build the habits that support that New Year's resolution. So they make the New Year's resolution, but they still go about their business with all their old habits. That's really why they fail. That's why they give up. Visualization is a powerful tool. Imagine yourself succeeding, closing deals, and creating value. And we talked about this earlier. Combine this with affirmations like, I am capable of leading every sales interaction with confidence. Now, Tony Robbins also talks about affirmations, but it's just not reading an affirmation. You have to put the emotion into it and you have to read it out loud. All right. Just reading it off of a piece of paper in your mind isn't good enough. You've got to feel that emotion. I am capable of leading every sales interaction with confidence, and believe it. When you repeat that and repeat that and repeat that day after day after day, all of a sudden, your subconscious mind starts to believe it and you become it. Over time, as it says, over time, this repetition strengthens your neural pathways and redefines your self-image. Did you know that you can strengthen your neural pathways? You can. There's all kinds of research about this. It's fascinating. Okay, quote number 5. Behavioral science reveals that over 90% of decisions are driven by the subconscious mind. Can you believe that? Behavioral science reveals that over 90% of decisions are driven by the subconscious minds. You don't even know you're making those decisions. Your subconscious is just on automatic doing it for you. Sales professionals who understand this leverage leverage it to their advantage by focusing on trust, emotional connection, and nonverbal communication, which is body language, tone, pacing. Those are all nonverbal. Well, the body language is nonverbal communication. Instead of pushing a sale, they guide the prospect to the decision naturally, making the process feel effortless and genuine. One of the things I talk about a lot is you always have to tell the prospect the next step. Just like you have a buying process, so does your prospect. Your prospect has a buying process as well. Just as you have a decision-making process, so does the prospect. He or she has a decision-making process as well. So you have to lead them down the path of what the next step is in order for them to buy from you. It becomes effortless and genuine. And if you make the buying process simple and easy, oh my gosh, your sales will be so much higher. I always talk about, even when I was in group benefits, and believe me, group benefits is complicated. I would say this can be very simple and easy for you. Here's the next step. And I would tell them what the next step is. Okay. So these are all the words of wisdom of Chase Hughes. I would highly recommend that you go to his YouTube channel, watch his videos. They're very, very good. And I really hope that this has helped you tonight. Does anybody have any questions that they'd like to ask, or do you have any comments? Just put them in the comment section. I'd be happy to read them on the air. But sales starts here first. I can't tell you how many times I've been on calls with sales reps who the prospect is selling them on every reason why they can't buy. And the sales rep is buying it. And it's like, hold on here. You're supposed to be helping them buy. You're not supposed to be buying what the prospect is trying to sell you on why they can't buy. That's not helping the prospect. So I know a lot of people will sometimes buy into what the prospect says. And I always say something like, well, tell me more about why you're saying that. Tell me more. Tell me more. If they say, well, this isn't the right time. This isn't the right time. Well, tell me more about that. Right? And the other thing that you can say is, after you say, tell me more about that, and they give you every reason why they can't buy, then you can come back and say something like, well, if you don't solve this problem, what's going to happen 6 months from now? So what you're doing is you're helping them see that, maybe kicking the can down the road isn't the best reason, isn't the best solution, isn't the best thing to do at the time, right? So it starts here, everyone, and I appreciate you watching. I appreciate you subscribing to my channel. And if you would like more information about selling, sign up to my newsletter. It's free. It goes out once a week on Saturdays, and you can learn a little bit more about selling. Stay savvy, just like me. Bye-bye.